Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom and Confessionals, Dreamers Meeting number 17. Okay, today is a special day because I've got a special guest coming on. And I'll be waiting for him to come on at exactly 9 p.m. But just to give you context of who that person is, he's my brother, Leong. So I got him on because I think both of us share similar interests in learning, in personal development, and yeah, just wanting to leave a legacy for the people, for young people there. He's also in the IT industry, or he was actually, and now he's doing something else. So I thought I better get him on so that we can learn something together. So today is just going to be a conversation between two brothers. So I hope you can just listen in. Yeah, just see what you can get. Okay. So let me admit him in right now. Hey, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Leong. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Yeah.
How are you tonight?
Very good. So just had my dinner.
Okay.
9 p.m. here. I know it's much later where you are.
It's 11 p.m.
I hope you're not too tired.
No, it's but life is quite different now with I'm trying to create a lot of content around the things that you and I share. I've meet up with a collaborator in the US to write a book on learning and playful learning. So that's in a few hours. So life is quite different now. But the way that I see it is that we go through these different stages, and I'm in one of it right now, and you can't really put a fixed idea about what your sleep and rest habits are, because the body and us as human beings and us as social animals actually adapt. And so health is there's quite a raging debate at the moment in the health industry on what health is, and how things like sleep actually touches on it. So
I hope I didn't disrupt your routine of sleep tonight. Right. So we try to keep this short, not because we have nothing to talk about. I'm sure we have a lot of things to talk about. It's more because I have a little audience, who listens to the podcast. Perhaps not live. They used to come live, but I think nowadays they don't. But they will watch this after it's being streamed in a couple of weeks. So anyway, just give you a context of what I'm doing with this channel. Old Women School, basically, I just set it up because of an opportunity that came about. You remember, the last time I talked with you in Starbucks in KL? We were just talking about this idea of having a conversation and be out there and see who latches on and who. So I got this opportunity because one of the refugees that I work with needed a job. So I'm looking at his skill set, like he can do type of thing, and I find that there's not many things that he can do. One thing for sure, he can hold a camera and he can shoot something. So that sparked the idea that we talk about, just putting ourselves out there. So I started the channel by hiring him to sort of be my cameraman. So that's how we started. So I think it's been a few months, and I've been getting people listening in. So I thought, since this idea came from the discussion with you, we will continue a discussion that we had in Starbucks the last time, and see what people can learn from us.
No, that's really so interesting, because the very brief description that you just gave me on that journey is so much about learning. Is because a lot of the newer ideas on learning, what people call 21st century skills on it's about collaboration, because our brain is a very unique entity that is not replicated anywhere else in nature, and one of the key components of it is social connection. And a lot of our new neuroscience is showing us that if it doesn't connect to other people and connect in a very deep way, then it doesn't function. So it's so the ability to recognize opportunities to connect to other people and to actually deepen that connection is quite critical for us to survive as a race, but also for us to thrive in our lives. So good on you for actually taking the opportunity. And I found always that when we take those opportunities, it leads to a lot of good things, not just for ourselves, but actually everybody around us.
Okay. So I think this is a topic that we want to talk about, taking our opportunity to learn and taking our opportunity to grow and adapt, with what is given to us. Maybe for the context of people that do not know you, maybe you just share a little bit about yourself, anything, and maybe your journey, where you come from.
So I think in terms of our work, which is how a lot of us are, the lens that we look at ourselves and a lot of other people. So I started my career as a computer scientist. So I did programming for a few years, but then most of my work, as you know, was at the university. So I went from undergraduate then to postgraduate. Then I was a lecturer at briefly at the University of Western Australia, but then I was mostly in Murdoch University in Perth, Australia. And from there, I branched off to an area of research called bioinformatics, which is using computing to analyze molecular biology sequences, so DNA, RNA, protein sequences. So that led me into health, and I made a decision at the stage to move actually into health services and aging services. So that was providing services to people who are elderly and to people with disability, and that's in aging. That's been my life for the last, I think, about 18 years.
Wow.
And so I've been doing a lot of that. So it's a lot of certainly health services, community services, mental health services, and up to a few years ago, when COVID started, there was a lot of turmoil in the aged care facility I was in, and I decided to actually back off because there were a lot of things to deal with. My two children, as you know, are very young, and I wanted to put all my attention towards them. So I backed off, and I still do some consulting in aging, but I've decided, taking care of them and actually watching them grow, that I like to go back to my educational roots and focus on providing resources. There's so much possibilities these days with technology, with social media, with platforms, like YouTube, that we're on now, in order to provide resources for young people to better themselves and to actually live their fuller lives, that the opportunities that we never had. But also, our dad, who passed away a few years ago, he was very much into education and giving us the opportunities that he never had. I thought is a appropriate way for us to move forward, that we take the legacy that he left us behind in order to move forward and, you know, pass that on to our children. So I concentrated the past 2 years on learning about the new technology, about what it takes for somebody young, adolescent, you know, early 20s, in order to thrive in this world. So there's still a long journey to go, but I've come to the stage where, you know, like I said, I'm starting to write a book with a collaborator. I have a collaboration with an instructional designer in Canada to build a course. That's not a conventional course. I mean, if we get a chance, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I'm going by my roots in lecturing, you know, lecturing for 16 years at Murdoch University.
Right.
There's a certain way that we teach that is useful for imparting certain types of knowledge, but is not adequate for the very integrated network world that we live in today. So, we need a new type of facilitating learning, and that's the thing that I try to explore as much as possible with what I do.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, we get back to your book, and I want to sort of maybe get a glimpse of the content of the book before it comes out, so we get a head start on that. But before we do that, I think we want to sort of go back, because it's very interesting that you brought up that learning today is so different from when we went through it. I remember, both of us, we were in University of Western Australia, and we both studied computer science. I was sort of following you. I remember the point where I was supposed to choose the course. I didn't even know what I'm supposed to study. Yeah, I wanted to do architecture, but Ma says that, you know, because of our elder brother, he has such a hard time with the course, and he just instructed me not to do it. So I follow you instead. So I picked computer science. Okay. And I basically had actually our path of learning was pretty much provided for, sort of guided step by step. But I think that today is very different, because there are so many options, so many ways to success. But just also say that you need a degree to succeed in life, because you can do so much learning outside of that. So I just want to ask your opinion in your journey, right? How different is learning then compared to now? Okay, and what are the things that is different? This is for the sake of the young people that's listening, right? They may not appreciate where we come from.
There's a few things I believe I've some perspective that might help people. The way that I always describe is that my journey and journey of people like me and like you may or may not be relevant for them, but it's actually worth considering just to see how that might actually how that might be similar to the path that they're going on. The first thing is this thing of you selecting architecture is similar to when I talked to our dad about what I want to select for uni, and I said graphic design, and I got exactly the same message as you.
Oh, you got sweet.
Yeah, that's right. So he said that our elder brother Kitko is already in architecture. You know, if you go into the arts and then, you know, there's a recession in that area, then the whole family will go down the drain. But it's interesting. Yeah, exactly as you said, that our path is pretty much mapped out, and with for us as a Chinese family, having the education that we had, and doing well in that, you go and be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. It's those paths, and these days. So just answering your question, compare that what I saw then, and then becoming a lecturer and seeing a lot of students go through actually very similar paths. And then now it's actually not that different. the path that's mapped out by the education system is that you have this, you move through, you learn the things that you're supposed to learn. Some do it well, some don't do it well. Some students are motivated, some students are not. But you move through, you get tested to see where your level is, and then you get streamed into those different streams based on what your test actually shows that you have you're good at. And then you reach the end, which used to be high school in days before yours and my time, then moved into university near our time, and now is at university and even at that master's level. So so that actually has an advantage for those people who are high performing academically and do find that the intrinsic motivation to learn and to study in these ways. It actually is good to actually go through that. And because you have your path mapped out and you don't have to waste a lot of energy in order to determine, is this little thing good? Is this extra course good for you? And, so on and so forth. A lot of things are actually mapped out that maximizes your potential to get to there. The unfortunate thing, though, is that it's always known that only a small percentage of people are like that. And the governments at a lot of Western countries and which spread to a lot of other non-Western countries is that we try to cram as many people into this system as possible, even though the statistics and and we even know from common sense that not everybody's going to fit that. And so what it ends up being is that everybody's put through the system where they put through the grind of needing to do tests, which is quite an accurate reflection of what they're capable of being, and then they have to go through university 3 years, 4 years to learn the things that probably they can learn in 6 months to a year.
Yes.
And that's been shown now with in IT, which is the area we're in, that the Google and a lot of the big companies are creating their own certification. And they're saying that in 6 months, we're going to teach you what we need for you to excel in this high tech, the cutting edge of technology. And a lot of people are a lot more satisfied when they go through that course. They certainly are a lot more relevant for the tech companies. And what it shows is that this argument that we have given in the university for many years, that you need, when you come here, you get learning skills, you get life skills, you get skills to apply yourself, and all of those things. They have some value, but it's not 3 to 4 years of your life.
That's right.
So so what we and with the available options now, with taking course on your own. Recently, I looked at the course we went through at the University of Western Australia in computer science, and I looked at all of the units, and then I said, okay, if I wanted to replicate all of those units now online, can I do it for free? And I can. Because MIT, Harvard, a lot of them are actually putting in their course for free. So so you can actually just do it all. The thing that you don't get, though, is the degree, and that's what, unfortunately, a lot of the universities, especially the elite universities, hang on to. So I think in terms of a learning experience, there's no question that you can get much better, more enriching experience elsewhere. The biggest dilemma is that the industry is still geared towards when employers hire people, not having much choice. They do still say, if you have a degree, it's much different than if you don't have a degree.
Right.
And so you end up needing to get that. So it's a unresolved debate, how this education system is going to change. It has to change because it's collapsing under its own weight. A lot of people are complaining about the dropout rate is massive. A lot of people are complaining about the amount of debt that they come out at the end. Why do I come up with this amount of debt that's going to take me, 10, 20 years in order to pay off?
Yeah.
So when I got in order to be able to have a decent level of income. So I think there's that, we can go into what is the difference between this set education system versus a lot of the newer type of learning. But essentially is that this is what I've seen with the transition. It's still not that much difference. Universities are still hanging on to what they had in the past. They've done it better than in the past, but not for the amount that they're charging, and not for the burden they're placing on young people in order to get their qualification. So
you're saying that the traditional sort of education, is it worth like the $30,000 that we pay, for the type of learning that we go through, or can there be an alternative way that charges that costs less, right? But still. But I suppose it depends on also situation, right? If you can afford that type of money, it may still be okay to go through that rigor, right? Or if you don't have, right, then you can learn in a simpler way, in a more effective way, in a more relevant way, and go straight into a job. So
I mean, my view on that is that if you're in a situation where you can afford it, or your family has the money, or you have the money for it, then you definitely would go through it, and you do it actually in a smart way. So let's talk first about the advantage of actually going to the university. The advantage of going to university is that it's still the place that is set up for where you can have the most choices in terms of exploring what you actually want to study. There's no other environment where if I go in and so I start off saying I like, biological sciences, I want to be a marine biologist, for instance. I go in there, I take a few units on basic science, and I take some accounting, and I do, dance in the performing arts department. And I discovered actually I like performing arts.
Right. Okay.
So that's the environment. That's the only environment you can jump so quickly within one semester from one degree to another. Especially these days, they give you that flexibility in order to jump.
Okay.
So within one campus, you just have all these different industries that you can try. So if you go out there, right, you get an apprenticeship, or you get a job, or even if your family's well off and they place you in a job, you don't get that because you work in fashion, you're going to be in fashion. You work in performing arts, you're going to be in performing. You're an engineer, you're going to be an engineer. You just can't say that, I'll work half my time here and half your time here. You can't build anything substantial. So I would say somebody that can afford it will go to university, but do it in a very smart way. You're just going to try all these things. You go in, and I'm going to go into Bachelor of Science to start off with, for instance. But I have an idea that I could jump into anything.
Okay.
So and the way that our brain development is that you go through childhood, then you go through adolescence. Adolescence is a time when the brain is evolving in a way to that it wants you to try things, right? It wants you to make new friends, try out new things, take risk, and if you don't take advantage of that, once you reach mid-20s to 30, you're going to stop experimenting. And if you have chosen to not explore during those times, then you're going to be set on whatever path that is that would take you where you want to go, where it actually naturally leads you. So a lot of people saying that I have an opportunity to do university, or I'm going to be social media influencer, and I can always go back to study later on. It's really nobody does that.
Mm.
People go back to university, near retirement and stuff like that. Once they step into that, there's a natural path that they would take. So
Right.
so it's the unfortunate thing is that the glamour of things like being a YouTube star or being an entrepreneur, it's actually very hard to resist. They give up on those opportunities to make use of the traditional system, and they haven't actually maximized the use of that traditional system. Right. So that's one aspect. Now, the other aspect is that there are just some people, actually the majority of people, where this system is just not.
Doesn't work for
it's
them.
just not for them.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's actually okay, and it's good to a certain extent to recognize that early. I would advise young people, to explore and include other people, like their parents, like their friends, in that conversation. There's a way to explore that can be just as fun, and also bring other people along with you. So, there's a difference between, when they talk, when they're actually thinking, should I be take this opportunity to go and be a programmer in a company because they're offering me this opportunity, or actually go to complete my diploma and then do university. The opportunity just to voice out that confusion and actually talk through it is a really useful thing. And it may turn out that they make a choice that is a lot more insightful once they had a chance to actually just say it out and then talk through with other people. Now, it is also, just like most communication, it's a two-way street. So if you go and talk to other people, and then other people is not even listening to you, and then just tell you must do this, you must do that, then so for certainly for me as a parent, and for us as parents, we have to learn how to listen as well. So it's not just a case that we ask when somebody are confused about their career choices to come and talk to us, but we don't learn how to listen and be able to respond appropriately. That's no good either. So this thing. So when the opportunities these days is that, what I said before, 21st century learning is about connection. It's about learning skills. Those things that, unfortunately, the traditional education system, these are things that cannot be taught. They can be facilitated. And the traditional system hasn't evolved to a stage where it can facilitate these things very well. There's some places that does it really well. Even some university, not some university. I only know one university in Canada that does it really well. But it needs to have that. So it has to move away from assessments, which is very hard. Without assessment, almost everything falls apart in the educational system.
So what does that university that you talk about do differently to facilitate this sort of connection and learning skills?
Yeah, so they focus then on experience, and so the thing is with this type of 21st century skills is that you need to engage, you need to socialize, you need to connect, and you need to move. So all of these things which are very hard to assess, because engagement just means you're experiencing, you're moving towards it. There's a lot of things. Why play is so important is that when we play, we are making our own choices, we are directing our own path, we are intrinsically motivated instead of extrinsically motivated. We have low stress. So, when you think about that, then these type of states should be what we're always in. But we're not always there, because when you're in a company and you need to work towards a project, you can't just be going your own direction. And and so there are a lot of situations as an adult you don't get that. But what I'm saying is that you cannot have this play disappear from your life completely. Is what a lot of people growing into 18, 20, they suddenly find there's all this stress and they stop playing and it completely disappears from their life, and the brain can't accommodate that. So these things that makes it successful. Why do entrepreneurs are so successful in terms of their technology development? That we reach a stage, technology, unfortunately, is the only area right now that where you get these amazing ideas being brought to reality, and where you cannot imagine what it was like 5 years ago. And so there's a way that technology ideas are come to fruition to start off with, are encouraged, and then they're funded, and they are taken to the stage where they can actually produce things that works. I wish that was the case in health. I wish that was the case in education. I wish that was the case in housing, the nursing, police, mental health. I wish it was like that. But it's not. And I hope that our new generation creates that our new generation have an idea. I thought of this way of doing health, where you can do, those amazing things. I'm going to actually create a company out of it, and it's going to, explode. We do hear about really big crashes like, WeWork and Theranos, those, and recently FTX, those are bad examples of this, this development. But you look at, by and large, a lot of things actually do come out that are they're really quite amazing. And so so I'm hoping that our new generation would have those ideas and be able to push them through and have the type of success that that technology actually has. But the new things is that, when I advise people, even when they go to university, what prepares them for work in the future is that while they're doing their studies, they are doing projects, right? And when you're doing your project, you have to work with somebody, right? Even the programmers that sit in their room for hours on end just programming, they upload their code online, and then people actually try their code. They're able to they learn how to pitch to other people what that is. They work with other programmers, and communication skills is different, but they have to work with each other. So that's the type, that's socialization. The other one's engagement, that where we see this so rarely. We see this so often with kids that they just think of doing something and they just
go for it.
They just dive into it. There's no reservation. So they're just doing it and doing it and doing it. And then something really amazing happens out of it, because they're learning so quickly that that you can't imagine it if they were put into an instructor-based learning. So and that happens. If you like, can describe what a university course in the traditional way is like, and what some of these lecturers, which are a lot more insightful, and they do this play-based learning in their class.
So I suppose what you're talking about is like whether it's a university or in the workplace, right? These things facilitate learning so much, connection, engagement, socialization, and making it fun. It's just about making things more natural in our learning process, isn't it? So as long as, I think, if we can facilitate that in an environment, we will always be learning, we will always be growing, and we are put in a place where we play. That's where we learn the most.
Yes, it's I think it's actually bringing in a lot more things about us as human beings that if you go on a straight and narrow path about, reading a textbook and doing exercises in a textbook, it cannot. So there's no course that can say, I know who you are as a student, and I'm going to maximize what this course is for you. So only that person can do it.
Okay.
So
you have to manage your own learning.
Yes, that's right. So so the things about us that are human, our spirituality, our family, and our relationships, the things that we're interested in terms of social causes, in terms of our belief, we want to fight for climate change if they want to fight for it. What is it about our mental state and our mental health that is relevant for what we're actually learning now? All of these things are only the person has access to, and so that's why the children, early learning these days is about the child, and the child directs their own path, and so assessment is quite different in that, because they develop in very different ways. But strangely enough, when they're given that freedom, they end up learning the same sort of stuff. They want to read, they want to do mathematics, and and so they end up grabbing onto those things, which are, because they're very rich and there's a lot of knowledge in that, they naturally want to gravitate towards that and actually learn it. But they start off by saying, we're going to give you all this freedom. You just go and learn anything you like. They end up learning those things. Yes, that's right. Wow. But in a much more advanced state, because they have been given the chance to be able to absorb the best way possible. So
that's interesting.
That's
interesting.
There's something about the brain. So the brain operates in there's a lot of different networks in the brain, and the three that I think about most is this three network. One is called the default network, one's called the executive control network, and one's called the salient network. When you're there's a set of circuits in there that forms what's called a default network. Default networks is when your brain is really relaxed and is just exploring. It's the state that we go into when we're daydreaming and not much is happening. So that's when most it's triggering a lot of things in different parts of the brain. So that's when ideas come, and that's when we're able to be in this play state. There's another side of it which develops through adolescence, which is called the executive control network. And that one's about regulation. It's about planning. It's about being able to execute. It's about being able to review what happens. It's about being able to manage your time. And so all of those things which allows us to build things to get from point A to point B in as efficient as possible. And we need that. Right? We can't live a life when we're not able to plan, we're not able to execute. So there's then now an understanding there's this thing called the salient network, which is about figuring out when you want to move from something like default network to the executive control network, where and it's all based on our values. What is important for us? So it senses the surroundings, and then it figures out that at this moment, actually, in my case, my son is the most important thing for me. So I that's actually of value to me, and therefore I trigger a certain set. So if I'm playing with them, then this goes into the default network. But if I need to think about, they seem to be hungry, I actually need to plan, what is the food that I'm going to cook them, and when am I going to feed them, and so this ability to move from one network to another, this develops when you're in the adolescence, and it reaches your maximum once you pass adolescence, mid-20s to early 30s. And the important thing for us is to not to artificially push ourselves into one or the other, daydream too much, or you do too much planning
Okay.
or executive control.
Hmm.
So because executive control is very attractive, when you do when you're able to do tasks and do it very, very well, very efficiently, then the late teens start to realize actually you can earn money. I can actually pick, this is what I can say to this person, and that gets me actually what you want, and all those are executive control. And then they start to drop, all these kid stuff. I don't play anymore. Why do I need that? Let's just go for. Right. I can get stuff, right? I can buy stuff, and I can get pretty things, and I can start to drive my car, and and it's very attractive until you realize you keep doing that, and then there's a load that it places on us as a human being, and it places on the brain. So so if you do too much of that, then you start to lose your, what we believe to be creativity, what we believe to be imagination, and it's very hard at the other end of it to try and get that back. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah. So
you're saying that you cannot force this. You're saying that when you're younger, you tend to be in default network, and then when you're in the adolescence, you are in the executive control. That means
the executive control starts to develop during adolescence.
I see. Okay.
And so which is why children are allowed to play, because they have no other language. They can't plan. They can't work out, what happened before and review, this happened and therefore I should do this. And so they just go by emotions.
Right.
And so we want to allow them to do that, which is why they play so well. Is when they start being adolescents, they start having this, what we believe to be adult capacities.
Right.
And so they if they're deprived of things, and they find that their ability to earn money, this example that I just gave, the ability to manipulate their environment to get what they want becomes overwhelming. Then they start to lose all of those things that is more emotional based, things like music and spiritual church. They start to lose a lot of that because of these opportunities to use the executive control in order to control their world. So
so what can one do going through these phases, right? Okay, when you're young, of course we are allowed to play. Unfortunately, some kids are not allowed to play, and I think that destroys the development, right? You're saying. Then after that, when they go into adolescence, you tend to focus on I do this, I get this, right?
Yeah.
What can one person do in order not to lose that playfulness, that creativity side of them, so that they can enjoy their learning process more? And I suppose your cellular network is about value-based sort of connection. That one is for later on in life, after you probably burn out your the adolescent go-getting phase. Then you go into value-based. But I think what I'm trying to get at is, for us knowing this fact, right? How can we be more balanced in terms of our our learning development from young to old?
Okay. So I'll give you what my perspective is, and this is, if somebody actually has the answer to that, then they'll be they'll rule the world. But from what I've seen is that the ability to recognize that our body and people around us can give us the cues that we need to tell us when we're healthy and when we're happy and when we're thriving. So actually to listen to that, and not to over listen to the brain, the cognitive thought, the conscious thoughts. So because when we're stressed, our body will tell us that we're stressed, and when we're stressed, a lot of people around us can see that we're stressed. So it's actually listening to that is very important. Then the second thing is that I go by this rule that I figured out only now in my 50s that I should have followed all my life, is that you want to have a percentage, and even a very large percentage of your life, your days, to be stress free. Stress-free as in
Mm.
you're just doing things which are natural, that you naturally do. Now, it's not meaning that you play, as the word I used before. It's not saying that you have fun. It's not saying that that you daydream. It's actually being what I said called stress-free. Stress-free meaning that, so say I cook my food in a certain way. So I can go into it, and then I put myself under stress where I set myself a standard much higher than what I normally cook at, and therefore then I have to learn how to do it, make sure it's right, and then taste it and all of that. The other way is that I just go in, I don't even have to think. It's just going to cook the meal that I normally cook. I want to have a majority of my days. My percentage is actually 75%.
Okay.
75% of my day is stress-free, which means I'm doing things naturally. The other 25% is when I challenge myself. Is that, like I said, the cooking, I have a slightly higher standard, which means that it can't be that I completely cook something completely new. I cook something that most of it I already know, but I actually learn. I challenge myself at 25%, and that 25%, I'm challenging myself. I won't learn 25%. I mean, if you learn 25% every day, you're an amazing human being.
Okay.
So if I get 1% out of it, it's already amazing.
Right.
But the thing is, I am. But the important thing there isn't either you're learning 5% or 1%. Is that you have 75% where you're stress-free, because your body is telling you that this is your way to live. And especially when you go through late teens, when you start to understand so many things, and you start to figure out, actually, I can impact on my life. I can control my environment. I can interact with other people this way. I can help with social causes, and then you suddenly want to do everything, but you haven't learned how to do all of those things. So if you every day that you come into the house and then you want to change your house in a certain way, you want to be this person, and to want to engage in these causes, and then your study is also placing all these demands on you. I don't think many young people have 75% of their day stress-free.
I see. Okay.
So the thing that is related to what I spoke about young children, when they're free, they learn the most. It's the same here. They're trying to learn how to do all these things, and end up you just don't learn much. But if you just give yourself a break and say, okay, I can only study this amount, or I can learn, how to drive a car. I don't know how to drive a car yet, so I'm going to take a bus, and just natural things. Okay. Or in my case, 75%, you can be 50%, but you need that stress-free time, which is playtime. And then the other times when you challenge yourself, you learn so much more. So
it's a very powerful point. Looking at how to live that portion of our life stress-free, so that we have sort of strength to go through the other part of the challenging learning, deliberate learning phase of our life. So I think it's very important. And I like the point you talk about, listen to your body, right? And I think it stresses a lot. I'm not sure whether I have asked you about your book. I think perhaps you're talking about the content of the book that you're writing, right? So you talk about the body, listen to your body, and having people around us. That seems to be the theme that you talk about a lot. Even earlier, when we talk about learning, right? To surround yourself with the people. So tell me a little bit more about this thing, about having people around us. Like the example you told me about an entrepreneur who wants to start something, right? And to check with their parents, check with the people around us. The thing is that sometimes when people are enthusiastic about a cause, about something they believe in, and they feel that maybe the rest of the world are against them, so it's very hard to seek for feedback, right? So my question is that how do you personally, maybe in your course of, I think going through your career changes and your life stages, right? How do you invite sort of conversations like this when when you are already in a challenge mode, when you are switching to do something else, or you are, how do you have courage to even ask people for advice?
I think the skill to learn is how to communicate vulnerability. Okay. And that is that is something that I'm still learning. But what I've observed is that that's one of the most critical thing, because there's a difference between if I were communicating. So say I have a new thing that I wanted to do, and the way that I convey it to you who's listening is that I thought about it. This is the way to do it. I've thought about A, B, C, and D. So I'm 100% sure I'm right, and I'm going to do it, right? So most people that listens to that would know there's something wrong with that, because it's the level of arrogance and the level of confidence is way beyond what is possible for somebody venturing into something new. So when I say communicate vulnerabilities, that so compare this message that I come to you who's listening to me talk about something new, and then I say, Doc, I'm thinking of doing this new project, but I'm really not sure just what the implications of that is. I'm on the plus side, I can see the benefits from here, but I see a lot of negatives that I have on this side, and I'm weighing up these issues, but I have tried to resolve them by doing A, B, C, and D. I've talked to this person, I've talked to this person. Now, I'd like to actually talk to you and see what you think about it. I may not take your position, but the fact that if I'm able to just speak to you and I'm able to listen to what you say, I think that would be really helpful for me. So a message like that invites connection and invites feedback that I can actually take. But the first position is that I'm really asking you to support me. Don't say anything else. Yeah. And the counter thing is that you're probably going to get the reverse from that, because usually when people hear that first version, they'll be thinking, I need to tell him that it's something wrong. There's something wrong. Right. So so the funny thing is that when we're vulnerable and we convey confusion, other people would feel that this person is heading in a much better, is handling it a lot better than otherwise. So that's what I mean by inviting people to come along with you. Then you get supporters. Most salesmen, I hate that word because it's there's a lot of negative implications of that. Yeah. But most people who are really good at this way of communicating are the people that brings others along with them. So I have to say that's not one of the skills I have. I mean, all these things I had to think about for a long time, and actually come up with scripts in my head as to how to do it. The more so now because I'm thinking about education for people who are thinking about their future. Yeah. But I find that to be a really useful skill to have.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. Yeah. And I think it's very helpful. Yeah. Sometimes I think in my channel also I talk a lot about dreams, right? So I want to advocate that everyone dream. That means wherever you are, you can think of something to improve. Is that the 20% that you talk about? You can you need to have 20%. You can't be 100% in stress-free mode all the life, right? So I'm advocating for that, and I think this is very helpful in terms of people making a decision to dream of something and to do it rational, in a realistic manner, to be able to talk to people and then bounce ideas off people, right? Yeah, and not assume that the person will say no or a person will reject you. So you come forward in a very aggressive manner. So that's very good. Thanks.
You're welcome. I mean, I hope that that a lot of people can learn the lessons that that, I from the mistakes I made and, things I didn't know when I was in the past. So it's strange that people like you and I who are old seem to have information that's useful for when we were 20 years old. So.
Yeah, I think that's that whole point. Sharing our expensive lessons, will be of value to the young people out there doing this.
Yeah, and at the same time, also recognizing that it's their own path, and not to impose, because our lives may not be their lives. It most probably isn't going to be their lives.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about your book. I think you have talked, quite a fair bit about maybe the content of what will be in your book.
I think that it's different.
Different?
Yeah, the book at the moment, I mean, we're still sorting out what the details of it. It's more about anecdotes from my life. Okay. When I, work with people who are elderly, people with disability, people who are homeless. Okay. When I worked with children at Sunday school, and and I see there's something consistent with how everybody does it, which is everybody's looking for play. So it's more telling the anecdotes of all those times and picking out the consistencies in terms of play for that. So I hope to have more than just one book, but so a lot of things I talk about, it may go into it, may not, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. But that's a very interesting thing about play at different phases of your life. Yeah. And how everyone is navigating towards that.
Yeah, it is. From somebody, having seen my two sons being born, and then the first few days of their lives, and then comparing to somebody that I've watched die, knowing that they're palliative and they're going to die, everybody search for that play. So that play comes about in different ways, and what I mean by play is what I've described early on, which is that your choice. The activity is your choice. It's self-directed, which means that what I do, I get to direct. Is low stress, is intrinsically motivated, is you're actively engaged, so you're not just watching a movie. And then the last thing is that it involves some imagination. Right. And so I see that young children, newborn, that's all they look for, right? So they look for safety first. They look for survival. They need to be fed. But once you get that, then they're playing. The next thing that they do is play. So somebody who's at the end of their lives, that's what they want to look for. I want some choice in what I engage in. I want to talk to my grandchild and not to be talking about something that is about what medication I want to have. That's not play. But if we talk about what the child did at school that day, and those are when it shifts into the part of the brain that isn't about planning and isn't about control. Right. Yeah, that's play. And that's when people get energy from.
That's the reason why grandparents always relate best with their grandchildren, right?
Yes.
Whereas the parents are all stressed out about the nitty-gritty, but it's always the grandparents. So it's very interesting. Yeah. We are born to play, and then before we die, we also seek out play. Yeah. And play as you share about the values just now. I believe is the consistent thing, in part of our life. Yeah. So it's very interesting. I also work 12 years in the church, in the children's church. So I have learned a lot from looking at how children play and how children learn as well. Yeah. So I try to incorporate that into my own personal life. I think
yes.
That's the 75% stress-free thing that I'm seeking out for.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of wisdom in childhood that we can learn from. And yes, times that you've spoken about your children's ministry in the past, there have actually been insightful for me, and has shaped the way that I look at things. And when I got into Sunday school at church, much later than you, and I asked for your advice as to how to do certain things. I think those were useful things. There is something about that childhood play that gets lost, that is unfortunate if it completely completely disappears from the individual's life.
Yep. One of the words that you shared just now, imagination.
Yeah.
I just want to ask maybe one last question. I think I don't want to make this too long. So my last question is about the role of imagination. And I always believe that imagination is one of the best, most crucial gift that God has given every one of us. So young, middle-aged or old, we always have this thing called imagination. Do you have any thoughts about how to sort of reactivate your imagination again? When we, after adulthood, after that what state, the executive control of our life. How do we bring back imagination? I believe that is a key actually for us, as we grow.
Again, that's one of those questions that if somebody knew the answer to, they'll rule the world.
Okay.
There's a recent book by a musician. It's called The Creative Act.
Okay.
So look that up. So this book is written different from a lot of other books. A lot of other books, they have 10 chapters, 20 chapters, and each chapter is long. So this one, there's about 70 chapters, and each chapter is about 1 to 2 pages, and it maps out about all the different aspects of creativity. So it's actually worth a read. But when you're reading it, you get a sense that your brain is doing something different, because you're not trying to find where the story is, and so those normal things. And if you get the same experience I have, is that you get this sense that the brain is doing this thing of moving into default network where it's spreading, and it's moving out. So the bits that I am able to get to that about creativity, not necessarily from that book, but from my life experience, is this thing of being in low stress, being in this states of play, because play, you cannot play when there's no imagination. So take, for example, you're playing tennis. You have to suspend your reality, because you're using a racket to hit the ball between each other, and there's no reason for you to do it. There's no functional reason, you're just hitting the ball. So you have to imagine there is this concept called tennis for you to actually be playing, and that occurs in almost all other plays. When somebody starts thinking about the money they'll make, or what kind of success they make, they start having reality come in, and they stop playing tennis. And so that's the example. So the advice that I have from my experience is to again be in this low stress natural state, and then the place, the creativity and imagination is not something that you can think through. It comes to you. So the biggest job is to put yourself in a state where it comes to you.
I see.
Yes.
You should be in low stress and do what you love, basically.
Yes, that's right. So things that interest you, be with people that you're comfortable with, and then it will come. And the hardest thing, play therapists, early childhood teachers understand that. They know how to create environments that allow children to tap into their natural imagination. So I believe imagination is natural, because we see it in every child. So so really, I don't believe we lose it. I think we just think too much, and therefore,
And
and therefore it disappears.
when we become older, we become grandparents, then I think it naturally come out.
Right, yes.
And then we start playing with our grandchildren in a very natural, stress-free way, and the imagination comes back.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay, interesting. Okay, maybe one last thing. We talk a little bit about serving in the church, right? Where does faith comes in to our personal learning development? Like I know you also you are active in your church. I think you do some IT work, right? You also doing some media work for them. Maybe talk about how faith has sort of benefited you as you go through your stages in life and be who you are right now.
So the faith for me is something very personal, because it's my path and the journey that I have with God. But thinking about it as a scientist and as a technologist, as an engineer in the past, and being a service provider, there are certain things in faith that is that's best answered through a faith journey. So because as good as science is it leaves us with a very poor answers about the core things about human beings, about hope, about love, about about connection. It does have some answers to it, but if you ask those questions, the answers that comes back is not satisfactory. So so that's my faith journey, is actually to tap into those things that I know, the questions I have, but also that it's my understanding of the brain. That's what the brain wants to do. The brain wants to connect. The brain wants to hold on to these things like hope and love. So so I have the within my church, with the people that I speak to, with the readings that I have, that's where I find the most engagement with these things that inside of me, the intrinsically is there. And all the things I spoke about today is that if that is a core part of me, and I see that being core part of so many people, and you don't engage with it, then it's very hard to achieve those states that we talk about, those being low stress and being intrinsically motivated, because you'll be fighting. You're fighting for what is for what is natural. So I see a lot of people where their path may not necessarily be with the God, or with the God that I have a connection with, but I see almost all people have very deep spirituality. So that's my perspective on.
Right. Okay. So good. I think you talk about actually faith fills out things that science cannot give an answer to, and I think it's core part of older people as well. I think it's the same thing about what you talk about when about play, about imagination. The children have it, and the older people wants it back, and they get it. And faith is the same. From my working with children, right? Children naturally knows there is a God. They have no problem accepting that. Okay, that God is the one that created the world, and God is an important part of life. So it's also interesting that when we get older, we all tend to look back into, basically maybe a secret that children know that, we are still trying to find out. So that's very interesting. Thanks, Uncle. I don't know how much more we want to talk, whether you have anything else to add, or maybe any last encouragement to the young people that maybe consume this content. How can they maybe make better decisions in their career choices, in their studies, and how to be engaged in stress-free, naturally stress-free mode more as they grow. Is there anything you want to leave behind? Yeah.
I think my main message is to engage with the playful side of themselves, the parts of them that allows them to be stress-free, because especially in the world today, that the pressure to perform and the pressure to control is going to be there. So you want to focus on the other end, which is unfortunately not natural now. Being natural is not natural these days. So try to be as natural as you can, and their future selves would need it, and so they should engage with that. The other thing is that they give themselves a break to where if they're in a time when they are confused and there's pressure and things don't seem to be right, and adults aren't helping them with what they do, my advice to them is to be aware that that's actually natural. Their brain is putting them in their state to take risk and to explore. And it's a natural part of it that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of they can't be sure whether this is right or that is right, and so that state is not bad. Is made bad when you overthink it, and then you think I shouldn't be in that, and then I do something about it. And it's actually the response to being in that state that creates a lot of the mental health problems. So give yourself a break when you're confused. Well, and we can tell them that most of us adults are confused. So
yeah,
it's
correct.
Yes. But we learn that it's actually not bad. So
yeah, okay, we're all in that journey. So whole thing about and thanks God for being here and being part of this community. So I think what you have shared really is very helpful. I'm kind of surprised that I can get so many sort of pointers here, which I will try to summarize and maybe put to the description for the followers that are listening in. So with that, thanks, and to the rest of us, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like. Please put some comments about if you enjoyed today's episode, right? Please put a comment about the type of people that you want on. I'm not sure I can get a lot of people, but I will try to get it for you so that we can be in this learning journey together. So as my brother says, let our body tell us what to do, and let the people around us tell us what to do as well. Let's grow with this community and with people around us to journey with us. So with that, thank you. See you, Leong.
Hey, see you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.